ever wanted to start something, a business, a new chapter, a healthier relationship, but your own thoughts stopped you before life ever did? The doubt, the overthinking, the what if I fail voice. Most people don't struggle with opportunity. They struggle with what's happening inside their mind. And today we're talking about that because success isn't only strategy. It's emotional awareness, it's healing, and it's mindset. Today on the Red Chair, I'm going to sit down with a therapist to unpack the part of growth nobody teaches us. If you watch this conversation, you're going to walk away with understanding why you feel stuck, even when life looks good on paper. Why high-functioning people still battle anxiety, burnout, and self-doubt. You're also going to get practical tools to manage emotional relationships and stress. Not theory, but things you can actually use today. Also, clarity on how healing your mind impacts your business, parenting, and decisions, because many times we don't need more discipline. We need awareness of what's driving our behavior. So if you've ever said, I know what to do, I just can't get myself to do it, this conversation is for you. Jackie, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
I cannot wait to get into this because I feel like this topic is so important. But before we get into all the content, what made you let's start off with who is Jackie?
Yeah, so I'm a mom of two. I have a 5-year-old and a recent, she's gonna be 6 months this month, 2 girls, and I'm also a wife.
Oh, 2 girls. That's not easy.
No, it's not.
That is totally different. I've got 2 boys, and I think God did that for a reason.
Right.
So what made you want to become a therapist?
So initially I was going for nursing at Felician University.
Okay.
And then I pivoted. I went into psychology, and I felt like it was kind of similar. So I figured,
I love that.
My goal of wanting to help people is still part of that, right?
Well, that's what I was actually going to ask. When did you feel like this was your calling?
I think ever since I was younger, I went through a lot of things growing up, and I was always that helper, right? And so I felt like that was just in me to help others.
Yeah. What do you think people misunderstand about therapists?
I think sometimes people feel like we're the fixer, right? Like we're supposed to have all the answers and fix it for them, right?
Yes.
But what we're really there to do is empower people to know that they have the answers within themselves.
You know, that's just like coaching. That is just like, we were just having a training about this, and it was like, stop giving them so much direction and let them try to figure things out themselves. So, and I said this during a coaching session, I said, well, this is kind of going to change like therapy, right? Because sometimes you just need to hear the answer yourself. Right? And recognize it, and you're like, okay, I knew that, right? So let's talk about what people are actually dealing with today, okay? What are the most common emotional struggles that you're seeing?
I see a lot of anxiety, a lot of high-functioning people that are just doubting themselves. So insecurities, relational issues, although I only work with individuals, but I see that often in my sessions. Like they come in talking about their interpersonal relationships and the struggles there. A lot of childhood trauma, things that have been, that still need to be healed.
Why do you think that so many, anxiety was big, that's a big one, but why do you think that so many people feel overwhelmed even when life looks good?
I think nowadays social media has a lot to do with that, right? That comparison. People tend to just post all the good stuff, right? So when we don't see behind the scenes, it feels like we're behind. It feels like we're supposed to keep up. A lot of moms, right? There's like that mom shaming and wanting to kind of keep up with the Joneses. I see that often.
And why do you think that successful people still feel stuck?
The pressure, right? Of depending on how their upbringing was as well, cultural. Some people feel like they have to be the person that makes it out of their family, right? Like they're successful, right?
Yes, they have to be that one. right. And isn't it crazy? I mean, we've seen so much of this on television with so many amazing, successful people that were empty, you know? It's a shame that some people think that success means you're fulfilled, right?
Right.
And you're not really fulfilled. So how do unprocessed emotions show up in someone's career or business?
I guess I'll use myself. You know, starting this private practice, I was a little bit like I was doubting myself. I had that imposter syndrome that comes up, right?
I talk about that a lot. Yes.
So that was a big one for me. And so it feels like, you know, am I knowledgeable enough? Am I able to do this? So a lot of that comes up.
Yes. Oh my gosh, imposter syndrome is so real. And the vulnerability to be able to talk about that, because people don't want to mention that they don't feel like they should be in the position that they're in. Like they don't believe in themselves. And a lot of times I talk to agents about this when I'm coaching them. It's like, if you don't believe in yourself, how could that person sitting across the room from you believe in you? That you are capable of doing these things. So it has to start within.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So when it comes to the stigma, okay, why do people avoid therapy?
So that's a question to unpack. I feel like there's different factors. It could be cultural. It could be the limiting beliefs, like that they are undeserving of it, right? Or like, hey, I know what's wrong with me, so how can a stranger help me, right? So, and then also the shame, the fear, right? So there's a lot
of different things, right? What do people think therapy is versus what it actually is? You know? So
I was mentioning before how we're not there to fix like all their problems or wave that magic wand. Right. So what it really is just to really empower others to see what they have within and that they're capable of overcoming whatever they're struggling with, right?
How do cultural backgrounds affect emotional expression?
So I know I'm from the Latinx community, right? So a lot of that, we have to keep it within the family, right?
Yes.
Whatever happens here stays here. So that comes up often, right? Because of the shame could be behind sharing some of this information with others. So I see that happening.
You know, personally, just as an experience, because I've tried different types of therapists, right? And for different chapters of life, right? And I have noticed that culturally, sometimes I needed to find somebody to understand my culture. Right. You know, it was like they didn't so much understand that machismo behind it, and they just didn't know what that meant, and it was almost strange to certain people if they weren't in that culture. And the same thing, you know, now that I found a therapist that is spiritual, like you were mentioning, which matters to me, right? Yeah. And by the way, I've noticed that some therapists say they shouldn't basically have someone in the same family that they are treating. Is that typical?
Yes, it's unethical to treat someone that you are close with, right? Because of the biases that can come with that.
I did not know that, and it was mentioned, and I was like, really? I didn't realize that was something. Okay. Yeah.
And you know, you bring up the idea of like having that connection, relatability. I think that is a big piece, because often people that have found me and they're in that culture, they're very much like, oh, you know, I speak Spanish, and I like to have someone that is able to, that I can just be that Spanglish, right? Just kind of throw in some Spanish words. So.
Well, that happens with me with coaching too. Whether it's because I speak Spanish or because I'm spiritual as well, and they specifically are looking for someone that has that and they can feel is relatable to them.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you actually do sessions in Spanish?
I do, yes. In the previous position I was in, I was doing para coaching, and I was doing a lot of sessions in Spanish. So I welcome it now in my private practice.
Yes, I'm sure our parents would be proud.
I know, right?
So when it comes to relationships and family, and I know you said you don't really get into too much about the actual relationship dynamic, but why do people struggle communicating with the people that they love most?
So, there's this continuous communication style that has been instilled, and I think that sometimes that misunderstanding just happens, and people are not seeing each other clear, right? They're not really understanding what the other person needs, and the communication just gets lost, right? And there's a lot of emotion behind that as well when it comes to someone that you love.
Right. I was thinking it's because you care so much about that person.
Right. So that's it's like you want the best for them, right? But they're not seeing it, so no one's getting the communication across.
How does childhood affect adult relationships?
I love that question because a lot of the work that I do is like inner child healing, right? So really digging deep, because all we see is the surface level, but underneath that there's so many different things. There's so many components, traumas that may have happened that affect the way that you interact as an adult in your relationships, right? So if you grew up with a parent that was verbally abusive, right, you may turn to someone in your relationship that may reflect that same behavior, right? Unintentionally, because it's been normalized. It's something that continues to happen.
Why do you think people repeat toxic cycles even when they don't want to? Just like you were just saying, right? You grow up saying, I saw my father, he was this type of person, I will never be with that type of person, and before you know it, you're with that type of person.
So yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of like a syndrome, right? Like it continues to happen because it feels safe, even though it's not.
I remember my psychology class in college, and they were talking about breaking cycles, right? And that was the first time I heard that, and the patriarchal and matriarchal cycles, and I was like, oh, okay, this is really interesting, and it was real. And so many people that just think that they can close that door and not deal with it.
Right. So, and then a lot of that comes with like feeling undeserving of better, right? Unworthy. Because of the narratives that were instilled, right?
Yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Well, and I love the fact that you can, you have exercises, right? That you work with people to get through that.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. Yeah, so one of the clients that I'm working with, she's doing like a 7-day inner child journaling that really digs deep. So before her doing that journal, we always do like a meditation, something to kind of ground her, because some of these experiences that she may be reliving can be very triggering. So,
oof. And I'm getting to that because I do want to give some tips later on. So when it comes to parenting, okay, are parents today more stressed than past generations?
Oh, I think that it depends on who you ask that question to. The one thing I could say is that the village seems to not be there. Right?
Isn't that true? So remember, well, I say remember, I mean, obviously I'm older. I remember.
Maybe not that old.
I remember your mom pregnant of you.
Oh my gosh, yes.
But it was just like, oh, when the street lights go down, you had to be in it. Like for certain kids, not for Latinos. But it's like, no, it's unheard of. Like you're not having your kids out there.
You're not, yes. You had the neighbor at the village, the other children, you were able to feel safe. So yeah, that ties into like it being much more difficult to raise a family now, right? So that stress does increase. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. So how do parents unintentionally pass anxiety to their kids?
I think that because the need to want to do better. I would use myself as an example. How I grew up, my mom, and she was low income, and my father as well. So that story there, and just me striving to do better than what they had, right? And that made me to go to college and want to be successful, right? I was very an overachiever. So then me as a mom, I'm very strict with many areas. So with education, as even what my child is eating,
Yes.
right? So some of that can be passed down
Yes.
unintentionally, right?
Yes.
Where I'm like, oh, I'm anxious about this. I want this to be this way, that to be that way. So,
and I see that a lot with overprotective parents, right? You know, because of anything that has happened in your past or what you have seen, that you become so anxious and stressed that you're bringing that upon your child as well.
Yeah, because
right?
I feel like, you know, I don't want them to go through potentially the things that I experienced. So,
generational trauma. In simple terms, I say that, and I know that's a heavy thing to talk about. What is it?
Different forms of abuse, I would say, right? It could be emotional, it could be physical, it could be just growing up in poverty, right? Verbal, right? So all of that gets passed down, and that unintentionally word is very important, because it's not like they're wanting this to be the continuous pattern, but it happens.
And sometimes, you know, a person believes in their heart, like they had an amazing upbringing, but they didn't realize what they were passing on, that trauma that they were passing on to their kids, right?
Yes.
And that's why I bring up verbal, because sometimes people just think of the physical and emotional, but that verbal can be so significant.
Absolutely.
You know, constantly telling people that they're not good enough or they're not smart enough, and then that's trauma that's being passed on.
Yeah,
right?
and then they internalize it and believe that that's
and
their
believe
truth.
it.
Yeah.
Right. So what's one thing that you think every parent should understand about their child's emotions?
Children's emotions are big, right? Naturally.
Validation.
Yeah, validation, right? That is chemically something that they can't control, right? So we are that controlling factor in a gentle way, right? Like we're there to guide them, to teach them how to manage those big emotions that they have. So yeah, just understanding that there's different phases for those emotions, right?
Different chapters too, and whether they're young or older, you know, that they should be validated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to faith and mental health, can faith and therapy coexist?
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm a Christian, and I am working towards like intertwining that into my business and things like that. I have some clients that strictly come from the Christian faith, and they love to talk about it in sessions. We'll read devotionals together.
Yes.
Even prayers.
Yes.
So I really think it is something important to.
Yeah, I told you I actually found my therapist through my church.
Right.
And I had been through so many. I was to the point that I was going to give up on therapy. To be honest with you, it was just like, you know, I just couldn't find the right one. It was just not giving me the experience that I needed.
Yes.
And I think it was like perfect timing. The church was talking about mental health, and they gave information out, and I said, I'll try it. Let me see if it, and it has been a really good connection. And we do start off each session with prayer.
Oh, I love that.
I really love that. I love that very much. Now, is prayer enough when someone is struggling emotionally?
Well, I think it depends on the person's walk, right? Like where they are in their faith, and
I agree.
Yeah, because for some prayer is like the tipping point, right? And for others, that's like what gets them grounded.
Yes. And I like that you said that, because some people only pray when they're dealing with something big, right?
Right.
That's true. So how can someone start healing if they feel shame? And I think that has a lot to do with the church too, because sometimes they feel shame because of religious reasons, and sometimes it's hard for them to start healing because of that heavy guilt and shame, feeling like they're never going to be forgiven. I mean, that's just my thought on that.
I think really the conversation is between the person and God.
Absolutely.
Right? That's the first one. So going to Him with that shame,
Yes.
right? And asking Him to relieve you from that, and really guide you and give you the strength to overcome that, so that you can connect, because God wants us in community.
Absolutely.
Right? So I think that's where it starts.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so now practical tools. 3 signs someone is emotionally burned out.
So it depends on who you're speaking with, like
Yes.
a parent or a business owner, right? And maybe you can connect the two, right? So someone who may be a parent, right? They are probably easily triggered, right? So irritable, constant, maybe like a reaction would be yelling, very quick with their children, just kind of wanting to shut down. In relationships, right, that the intimacy may not be there anymore, connection, right, so and at work it could be maybe making some mistakes,
losing sleep,
yes, absolutely, bringing the work stress back home as well, yeah.
I was telling you, I was talking to sometimes my therapist about this when I deal with my coaching sessions. And it's like almost like the signs of PTSD before you walk into the office. If you're walking before you walk in and your hands are already sweaty and you're breathing heavy, it's like, hold on, take a minute. Maybe this is a sign that you need to like have a break. Right?
Absolutely. And sometimes we ignore those signs.
Yes.
And we just push through.
Yes. As mothers too, you ignore the signs of burnout, and you need to just ask for help. And sometimes as a mother, there's so much shame behind asking for help. So it's like, no, I'm supposed to do this. Everybody handles all of this, and that's not true. Some people just need to have a moment, and it's okay to say that, right? So what would you say would be like 3 daily habits to protect your mental health? And I know you started mentioning it before with the breathing.
Yeah, so you know, at least for me, like when I wake up, I turn to prayer, right? That's the first thing I do. I try to avoid my phone, right? Because that really can bring you down a spiral. So prayer, whether they are in their faith or not, like devotionals, things like that. Maybe journaling, right? Just having a nice quiet breakfast if possible, right?
I think journaling is really much more therapeutic than people understand. I've actually talked about this before, but since I was little, I always liked writing, but I would write like if I was writing to God. And I was like, I couldn't lie because he knows everything.
Right.
So I would just write everything down. And I'm talking about always, all my life, I've just always journaled this way. So I think that is extremely therapeutic because you're being honest with your thoughts. And even if in the moment you're dealing with a situation and you didn't say anything, but you wrote it down, at least it was a way of releasing it.
Absolutely.
Right?
And you can always go back to it. And actually you can see, I think the trajectory of it, like, oh, I started this way. And then throughout this is, you know, maybe I used these tools and it helped me. And now I'm feeling this way. Or even just like a form of encouragement.
Yes.
I remember when I experienced this and now look at where I am.
Yes.
So that journaling really is insightful.
In coaching, our coach has told us about MEDS, right? MEDS, right? Meditation, exercise, diet, and sleep, right? And these are things that I have constantly implemented on my daily routine. Some people had no idea what meditation was until COVID happened. And it was like, okay, what are we gonna do? Learn how to meditate, learn how to calm your mind, learn how to calm your breath. And I'll be honest with you, I had dabbled and not really understood the benefits of meditation until COVID.
Oh, really?
And understanding, you know, even to help you go to sleep or in first thing in the morning, you know, different times of the day, but I definitely agree with you. So, how do you regulate emotions during conflict?
That's tough, right? Especially if it wasn't modeled when you grew up, right? So I working with a lot of clients that are struggling with regulation. One thing I say is take a deep breath, right? Visualize that stop sign, right? The stop sign is that you have to stop and decide which way to go.
Yes.
Right? You can't just go forward because there's going to be an accident. Right? So sometimes just taking that stop and then say, okay, if I have to walk away from this right now and table the conversation, that's okay.
I think tabling the conversation is huge. Whether it's an email, you receive that email, you're like, and I'm like, okay, hold on.
Right.
Take a moment. Maybe I should wait till tomorrow to answer this email. Right? Anything with your children, with your significant other, with work. I think that when those emotions are too high, that is not a good time.
It's not. Yeah. We don't have to push forward.
And when do you think somebody should seek therapy? I know it's different for
yeah,
everyone,
it is
right?
different. So, it's I think an individual decision.
Right.
I know oftentimes we want to pressure someone to do so because we see a lot of the qualities that may need to be worked on, but it really does come within. If that person isn't ready, as much as we love them, as much as we see that it can benefit them, they just won't take that leap, right? So one way for you to find out, I guess, if it's time for you to seek help is looking within. Like, is it disrupting your sleep? Is it disrupting certain habits that you had that were good and now you're no longer doing it, right? Is it affecting your relationships, your work environment, and things like that?
Yes, yes. Take note. Take note. So what mindset patterns sabotage success the most, you think? I think it's a lot of limiting beliefs.
Yes.
As I coach people, and I see a lot of times they sabotage their own success simply because of not believing in themselves or believing they're not capable of something.
That imposter syndrome.
Yes. I always, and Tony Robbins talks a lot about limiting beliefs. I think it's a great exercise to, really dig deep inside. But do you have exercises with your clients to deal with how they sabotage themselves?
Yeah, self-sabotaging comes up a lot. So, it's just kind of asking yourself, where is this coming from? Are these my thoughts? Are these my beliefs? Or were they instilled? Yeah. So I think starting from there and then just unraveling, because there's a lot there.
Absolutely. So some myths. Therapy means I'm weak.
That's a myth. Yes.
100%. I should handle things myself. Talking about it makes it worse.
Yeah. And for some people, initially it feels worse, especially dealing with clients who have trauma, right? Because it's something that they've been burying, right? So it brings up all those high emotions that make that feeling feel worse. But then eventually with time, with practice tools, it becomes better, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, that was the last myth that I had written down, is that trauma survivors are really the only ones that need therapy.
No, absolutely. I have clients that are high functioning and they just need someone to talk to, right? Someone that's going to be unbiased, non-judgmental, that's going to hear them. Sometimes they just want someone that gives them the undivided attention versus just giving opinions, right? Because oftentimes our friends, our family, they just, because they care, they want to fix us, right? They want to help us. And sometimes the person just needs to be heard.
Yes.
Right? So.
Yes. Well, so where's your practice?
So right now I'm virtual.
Nice.
Yes.
Well, I've noticed that most are virtual right now, which, by the way, really is better. I find it to be better. I know that some people like to be in front of people to feel that body language. I still feel like you can feel body language on a Zoom call.
Absolutely. I've seen that it's more it's convenient, but it also makes that person feel safe to open up because they're in their own space. Right? You can be talking to them, but you don't see what they have underneath. Maybe they have their favorite blanket or like a tool that helps them feel relaxed, right? So I think that convenience is good.
Well, please provide us with information on how anyone can find you.
Yeah, so I'm still working on a website, but you can find me on Psychology Today. I'm under Jackelyn Alvarez Fernandez, and I also have an Instagram, My Courage Therapy.
Oh, I love that.
Thank you.
I love that. Yes. Well, I'll definitely provide all of you with the information. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
I hope you found this stuff helpful, because I did.
Thank you.
Before we end today, I want you to pause for a second. If something in this conversation felt familiar, if you recognized yourself in the overthinking, the pressure, the emotional exhaustion, the feeling stuck, you're not broken. You're human. And many times the problem isn't that you don't know what to do. It's that something inside you hasn't been heard. It hasn't been processed or healed yet. We spend so much time trying to fix our results when sometimes what we need is attention to the person producing them. Growth isn't just strategy, it's awareness, it's emotional safety. It's giving yourself permission to evolve. So if today made you realize you've been carrying things silently, consider this your reminder that strength is not avoidance. Strength is facing yourself with compassion. Thank you so much, Jackie, for this real conversation. And to everyone watching, take care of your goals, yes, but also take care of your mind, your relationships, and your peace, because success feels very different when the person achieving it is whole. This has been Real Talk on the Red Chair.